Welcome to the 5-Star Flex, where being a 5-star isn't just a ranking, it's a mentality. I'm your host, Phillip Dukes, aka Dukes D Scoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes D Scoop, and make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Okay. Julian Lewis is probably the most talked about recruit of this cycle. He's a 5-star quarterback out of Carrollton, Georgia, plays for Carrollton High School, and right now, I don't think there's a bigger star in the high school recruiting game than Julian Lewis. On the On3 NIL evaluator, he's got $1 million valuation, and those aren't just pie in the sky numbers. He's that guy. So he goes through his official visits, and I've been doing a little bit of digging, and I've been trying to get the scoop on what's really going on. And I found out some really interesting information this past weekend. He comes from Colorado. Got some on that a little bit later. But when you think about Julian Lewis, you look at the official visits that he took. You look at Indiana, you look at USC, where he's committed to, you look at Auburn, and you look at Colorado. Right now, if I had to say, I would probably say it was more of a 3-team race, and I think that's what the industry consensus is at this point. But when it comes down to those three, I may see those three schools a little bit differently than some. So first and foremost, he's committed to USC. He wouldn't have committed there if he didn't have the want to go there. There has to be some type of interest. Do I think they hold on to him? I think they very well could hold on to him. I'm not one of the guys who says he's an automatic flip. I think that USC is going to continue to be there. I talked to his dad, TC Lewis. Some of the stuff that we talked about USC, you may not hear in the traditional media, you may not hear in the mainstream media, but when just the conversations that I'm having with he and his with this family, particularly TC, they're committed to USC for a reason. From what I understand, Juju is not the type of guy who's just, like dying to talk all the time. Like, he's a business-oriented type kid. A kid who's still going to have fun, but he's really responsible, very mature for his age. He was bred for this moment where he is right now. So if it's not a genuine relationship, it's not somebody that he feels 1,000% comfortable with, he's not going to, just play with you just for the sake of playing a recruiting game. He's only going to visit places where he may have a really strong intention to go if it becomes that type of relationship. When it comes to USC, the way I understand it, that would probably be the coach that Julian has the best talking relationship with to this point. I think as far as when they talk, from what I understand, it's not just football related. A lot of it is football, but they formed the type of relationship that you could say, if I had to vote on relationships where it came to the head coaches with the top teams that he's involved with, I would give the Lincoln Riley. And when it comes to that, that is always a threat, in my opinion, because when you've got a good relationship with the head man, it makes a world of difference. So, and then you think about Julian Lewis in LA. You look at him being the only guy with $1 million valuation, them just sending the number one quarterback to the draft, looking at Lincoln Riley's history of quarterbacks, and also looking at that offense and how it fits Juju and what he would like to do, him understanding the concepts, him speaking at length with not just the offensive coordinator, but the head coach about how he would use him in that offense. I think USC has more than a strong chance to hold on to Julian Lewis. And I think he had a good visit. I think everything's been status quo. There's a lot of connectivity between LA and Atlanta. When you talk about guys in Atlanta who are kind of on the upper tier of entertainment, there's LA, whether it's music, sports, law, there's a certain synergy between LA and Atlanta where that 4.5, 5-hour flight doesn't seem as long when you're going to handle business. And if there's anybody, I mean, we're forgetting about the time where they thought that Juju might even go to high school in LA. I mean, that's a forgotten memory, but I'm not going to say that was an imminent thing that was just going to happen that went left, but there was a conversation about that where it wouldn't be out of the realm of reality that Juju could do that and spend that type of time in LA. When it comes to NIL from the collective, I think USC can compete with everybody. Like, you're not going to outcompete USC. Like, you got to think about it. Like, when it came down, think about what happened with Jordan Addison when he came over from Pittsburgh. USC jumped in it early. Like, they don't recruit the type of people that they recruit if they're a poor franchise or a poor collective. So don't, for anybody watching this, do not count USC out. All right, let's go to Auburn. Auburn, man, I think Auburn has a very real shot. Why do I think Auburn has a real shot? Not only do they have a strong NIL collective, not only do they have a strong cachet of receivers. When you think about receivers for the future, the class that they signed last year, Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane, Malcolm Simmons, and Cam Coleman, in my opinion, that was the best wide receiver class, which will be the class that Juju plays with. These guys will be ready and battle tested by the time that Juju gets there. So when you think about what USC has in returning, yeah, they got Zach Branch, they got some guys now, but I think, and so does Colorado. But when you think about the guys that Juju will be playing with, Auburn has the best cachet of receivers for the future. The proximity to home, being able to hit 85 and being right back in the area, like, I mean, yeah, it's there are a lot of things that Auburn does present. Why I think that Auburn does have a real shot at landing Juju. What I think it comes down to, can they continue to recruit? Can they continue to stockpile on the offensive line? So they can prove that they can protect Juju? And do they continue, like, how do they finish with a guy like Caleb Cunningham or any of these other top receivers, where or can they get in it or really be a factor at the end for Travis Smith? When you look at what Auburn's able to do as far as their recruiting, it could have an impact, just to kind of put some icing on the cake when it comes to the opportunities that Auburn presents for Julian Lewis. All right, let's talk about Colorado. So I talked to TC Lewis tonight. I asked TC, I said, straight up, bro, like, let's talk. We talked. I said, hey, man, give me one word to describe your visit to Colorado. He said, real. That strikes me in so many ways. A double entendre, triple entendre. It strikes me like, because real, he's not talking to, the average recruiting report. He's talking to a guy who he has a connectivity with. I understand the language, and not that it's a separate language, but we speak on a different level. So when he says real, I didn't just take it at face value. I take it as, when he left that visit, when he said real, it means not the average recruiting talk. And I don't know what the exact pitch was, but if you say that visit was real, like, think about it. If I say, hey man, I'm going down the street and I'm going to visit some of my friends. Okay, and somebody comes back and asks me how it was, and I say, well, it was real. There's a lot to be said for one word, and I'm not trying to dig into it, and I'm not trying to give false hope, but I am looking into that one word answer, which is what I asked for, and we talked a little bit after that. But understanding the bond that Julian Lewis has with his father, TC Lewis, from being the guy. Julian Lewis has been the guy for a long time. So from being bred to be the guy in one of the fiercest little league systems in the country, in Atlanta, being a guy from a young age and being brought up around guys, he's always played with guys, whether it was rec ball, high school, don't matter, 7-on-7, it don't matter. He's always played with other guys. So being able to understand how you've been bred in that father-son relationship, and to see a mirror image in Deion Sanders and his son Shedeur, that speaks volumes to me when I hear the word real. Seeing how the Colorado faithful came out for Juju, love, that always kind of just strikes me as real. And then when you think about, and like I said, when you think about recruiting talk, when you're the number one guy, when you're a top guy in the country, you hear recruiting pitches left and right and all day long. When you're able to have a conversation with somebody that doesn't sound forced, that doesn't sound fake, and this is no slight to any of the schools recruiting, no, I'm just saying what it means when I hear real, that's what it means to me. So for TC saying that to me and saying, bro, it was real. I think that bodes well for Colorado. As if I had to bust it down the middle right now, I would say I wouldn't lean any way with any of these schools. What I do think is that Colorado really gave the Lewis family a lot to think about this weekend, and I think that Auburn is going to continue to push, and I think that USC, As long as he's committed to USC, I think you can never count them out. And I would still say they're the leader because that's where he's committed to. This family is not the type of family that's just going to string you along for no reason. When they know that if they knew that USC wasn't a school for them, they would decommit. The relationship with Julian and Lincoln Riley is too good. They'll never know where they'll see each other again. So they're going to treat, because Lincoln Riley is a guy, they've been throwing NFL jobs at him like, they always do. He's got NFL quarterbacks, those type of relationships. He's not a guy that you burn and you do wrong. Like, so if he truly decides that he doesn't want to be a Trojan anymore, he's going to decommit. He's not going to string him along and be silently committed to anywhere, because that's not how that family does business. So right now, I think you do have to respect the fact that he's still committed to Southern Cal. Does Auburn have a shot? Absolutely. Auburn is really positioning themselves as a powder keg in recruiting and to really do something special. When you look at the amount of guys from Atlanta that Julian has connectivity with on Auburn's roster, you think about the Terrence Loves of the world. Shout out to T Love, K and Lee, Lil Lee. Shout out to K. Like, the Atlanta area is going to be a big pool. These guys are able to get up and down the road quickly. So I think Auburn has a real shot. And if I was to summarize Colorado's shot, I'll tell you the same thing TC Lewis told me. Real. They got a real shot. So this is one you got to stay tuned. Hey, I think whoever gets Julian Lewis is going to get a guy who can make an impact as soon as he steps on campus, on and off the field. And the last thing I'll say about Colorado, everybody talks about the collectives, and I think all the collectives are going to be able to pay whatever it costs. They are. I don't even think it comes down to collective money at this time. I think the opportunities where it's going to really be important for Julian Lewis, and why I think that USC and Colorado may have a small leg up on Auburn, is when it comes to the NIL opportunities outside of the collective. When you look at the relationships that Deion Sanders has when it comes to branding and marketing, there's no other marketed or branded coach in the country the way Deion Sanders is. We're not talking about local commercials. We're talking about national commercials. Affleck, Deion and Saban, the man. So when you think about and look at the deals that his children have, look at the deals Travis Hunter has. There's connectivity with brands that you're going to get with Colorado and Deion Sanders and Coach Prime that you won't get everywhere else. But I also look at the opportunities that come along with USC. You're in Hollywood. It really fits Julian Lewis because he can go and the lights are, when you think about going to college towns, sometimes a player's light can shine and exude so brightly that, it's like, oh, maybe is it the right fit for this town? That'll never be a problem in LA, because now he's not alienated as the guy so much in LA. He's one of the guys. You got LeBron James, you got Ohtani. There are stars. He's one of many. And sometimes that could be comforting to a guy where you don't have to be the man all the time. And then I just think in Auburn, man, like, the proximity. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your comments. Where do you think Juju is going to school? Holla at me. Deuce the Scoop. I'm out.